when I was going into medicine and thinking about medicine, kind of go back a little bit on that story, but I got a lot of advice that, you could either, if you're a female going into medicine, you should really recognize that you're going to have a career. You're either going to have a career or a family. You can't have both. Can't do it. And of course, when someone says you can't, that always, I think, makes me more determined to prove that it is possible. And so as we went into medical school and decided that, we wanted to have a family, I had a series of miscarriages. And that was really a difficult time, I think, given the backdrop of people saying, you can't have a family and a career. And it is very demanding and very stressful. And I think a lot of women who experience miscarriages or have trouble having children kind of go through the same thing of thinking it's something you did, or there's, could you have done something different, or was this a choice I made? So there was a point in time where we weren't sure we were going to be able to have biological children, but we were committed to having a family, and we had really thought about adopting at that point. So that was pretty early on. I mean, obviously, we went on to have children. Yeah. I had my son when I was in medical school and my girls when I was a resident. And so I was in practice, and we started doing respite foster care. So we had a friend who, she was a foster mother, and we would keep the kids for her when she needed a break. And so we were accustomed to having kids in our house, and our kids were too. And I think at some point we just felt like we were at a place where we could adopt. I don't think we ever let go of the thought that we would adopt. I always laugh. I was not thinking 3. I was, not there to say 6 kids. But we had some friends who had adopted, and actually I should say, we almost adopted a sibling group from that foster system, and that fell through. And I think that was just the point where, we decided, this is something we want to do, and this is the right time. And we had friends who had adopted from Ethiopia, actually several friends throughout many years. And I started doing a little research on Ethiopia and adoptions. And I learned that boys who are not adopted at a young age typically stay within the system. If they're not adopted by the age of 4 or so, they're not likely to get adopted. And they stay in the system, and just in that particular country, if you're in a school, you have to take a test to determine whether, if you pass it, then you can continue on and go to college. Yeah. Depending on how high you score, you get to go different places. So you see that if you're in a poorer part of the country, or if you're in an orphanage and you don't have much of an opportunity for an education and you don't get adopted, you're really destined to a life of poverty. And those boys typically will, age out, 14, 16 years old, and then go out without a family, and there they are. And so we had a lot of conversations about that if we were going to, do it, we wanted to adopt and to really make a difference for kids who just weren't going to have an opportunity. Yeah. And, we went into it really with this idea that we were just going to be a blessing to these kids. But, you get in and you learn so much from them, and you're just so blessed by them. Their stories are amazing, and they're so resilient. It's just phenomenal. And so, I tell everybody, it's not easy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I talk about that, but you really have to be committed to it. And it's just, if you feel led or called to adopt, it's definitely, you get
more out of it than you give, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's special. It's really special.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great, like I said, that, we chatted before we started recording, that how different they are and their upbringing is so different to our upbringing, and the intricacies and just the little details that just make them who they are, because like I said, when you adopt someone who's, 3-4 years old, then they miss that. But if you adopt someone who's 12, 13, 14, then like they've had that years of general, that really, that huge kind of important part of their life that they get a lot of their, upbringing from, which I'm sure makes you smile on certain days, and some days makes you really mad.
Yeah. I mean, there's some funny, things that, they never played organized sports, but they're very athletic. And one of our boys in Ethiopia, they're very soft-spoken. People don't typically yell. And so you can imagine them going into, high school sports, and the coach is just going crazy, yelling, and they think he's insane.
Right.
And one of our sons came home and just said, I don't think this coach appreciates me. And so we had to explain, no, that's just the way they are. And don't tell your coach he doesn't appreciate you.
It's just going to make it worse.
Yeah.